What if the most seductive theory of our time is pointing us in the wrong direction? Simulation theory is everywhere. It's the rabbit hole of Reddit forums, the backbone of sci-fi epics, and even casually mentioned by thought leaders like Elon Musk as if it's a given. The premise is deceptively simple. The reality we experience might be nothing more than a highly advanced computer simulation. Every thought, every moment could just be code. It's elegant, thrilling, and deeply satisfying to a tech-driven mind. After all, we live in a world shaped by interfaces, swiping, coding, gaming, and we understand existence through machines. It's only natural to imagine that we might ourselves be inside one. But as this theory spreads, something about it feels strangely incomplete. Not because it's wrong, perhaps it's not, but because it misses something. Something fundamental, something quiet, something that doesn't need to be rendered because it's always already here. You felt it, haven't you? In those brief moments of stillness, when you're alone in nature or lost in a dream, when the world shifts from being just a mechanical construct and feels more like a whisper, a presence behind the pixels, a mystery behind a mirror. This video isn't here to debunk simulation theory. It's here to take you deeper, to ask a different kind of question. What if reality isn't artificially generated but consciously unfolding? What if the very essence of what's missing from simulation theory, awareness itself, isn't just a side effect of coding, but the very source of all that exists? This isn't just a belief to be analyzed. It's an invitation to experience it directly. And toward the end, you'll be invited into a brief inner experiment to glimpse what might be more real than any simulation could ever hope to render. So, if you're willing to suspend what you think you know, if you've ever sensed that there's something beyond the code, stay with me. This journey doesn't lead deeper into the simulation, it leads out. Welcome to Beyond Reality, or maybe Beyond the Simulation. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Simulation theory is seductive because it mirrors the world we've created for ourselves. We live through screens, interact with systems, and measure everything in terms of data and networks. Our minds have been trained to see everything through algorithms, codes, and patterns. So, when someone proposes that the very fabric of reality is a simulation, we nod. It makes sense. It aligns with our tools, our games, and even our fantasies of artificial intelligence evolving into something godlike. At its heart, simulation theory posits this: a sufficiently advanced civilization could create conscious beings within a virtual world indistinguishable from physical reality. If that's possible, then the argument suggests that the odds of us being in the base reality are slim. It's mathematical, logical, and it fits perfectly within a world shaped by silicon and science fiction. And strangely, it's comforting. It turns chaos into design, offering an answer to the profound question, why are we here? And even if the answer is a machine, at least it's something. It's a system we can analyze, theorize, and even debug. But beneath the surface, something subtle gets lost. Simulation theory has no room for beauty. It doesn't account for grief, love, or the sacred. It doesn't explain why a certain melody can bring you to tears or why holding someone's hand can make you feel like the universe itself has paused. It reduces human experience to mere outputs. It renders awe into artifacts. It translates depth into data. And when you try to live that way, when you see yourself as a mere character running code in someone else's system, life begins to feel less alive. Even the thinkers behind simulation theory acknowledge its limitations. Philosophers point out that it's unfalsifiable. If you can't test it, how can you truly know it? Scientists like Sabine Hosenfelder dismiss it as a distraction, unprovable layer that adds nothing to physics. Others argue that it simply replaces one mystery with another. Rather than asking what consciousness truly is, it assumes it's just an emergent feature of code. But there's a deeper issue. It misses the one thing no theory can avoid, the one element that cannot be simulated. The presence that makes all theories possible, awareness. Because no matter how convincing the logic, no matter how sophisticated the simulation, it still needs something or someone to experience it. Simulation theory tries to explain the nature of reality without addressing what it's made of, and that omission changes everything. Maybe the simulation theory isn't wrong, maybe we are inside something, but the more important question isn't, what are we in? It's who is aware of it. That awareness is not coded. It doesn't run on power. It isn't confined to space or time. It is here before the question is asked, and it remains when the theory fades. If you look closely, you'll realize that it's never been separate from anything. Consciousness has long been treated as an afterthought, merely a side effect of neurons firing, of matter becoming complex enough to recognize itself. But there's a growing community of thinkers who suggest that consciousness is not just a byproduct of matter. It may, in fact, be the very foundation of everything. The true source. What if, instead of being a mere observer of a machine, we are the ones who bring the machine into being? What if awareness itself is the key to understanding not only reality, but existence itself? As we delve deeper into this idea, we move away from seeing ourselves as characters in a system and toward realizing that we might be the ones who shape the system itself. Welcome to a new paradigm of thought, a reality that is conscious, not coded. Stay with me. And don't forget to subscribe to Quantum Aligned, where we go beyond the surface and explore the very essence of existence. That consciousness isn't produced by matter. Matter arises within consciousness. They're not speaking metaphorically here. They're pointing to something undeniable. Everything we know, everything we've ever experienced, has occurred not in the external world, but within awareness. Right now, you are not experiencing a brain. You're not even experiencing a world. You're experiencing sounds, visuals, and sensations that appear within consciousness. This may sound abstract, but it is the most immediate truth available. The only thing you've never been without is awareness. It's been present in every moment of your life, not as something you have, but as what you are. This perspective is not new. Philosophical idealism has quietly challenged materialism for centuries. From Berkeley's to be is to be perceived to Schopenhauer's vision of the world as representation, the idea that reality arises within the mind has deep roots. Today, this view is being revisited with renewed clarity. Bernardo Kastrup, a computer scientist turned philosopher, calls it analytic idealism. He proposes that what we call the physical universe is more like a projection within a deeper field of universal consciousness. Rupert Spira describes it more intimately. Awareness is the ever-present background of all experience. Even science, at its cutting-edge frontiers, has begun to approach this idea. Quantum physicists have long puzzled over the observer effect, the way a particle's behavior changes depending on whether it's being measured. In some interpretations, it's not the instrument that matters. It's the presence of observation itself. Integrated information theory, developed by neuroscientist Giulio Tononi, suggests that consciousness may be a fundamental property of the universe, much like space or time, not something created, but something that simply is. And across psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy, there is a growing discomfort with a materialist assumption that experience can be reduced to chemistry. Experience is not chemical. It is experiential. Even simulation theory, with all its technological metaphors, presupposes consciousness. Someone must be aware of the simulation. The theorizing, the thoughts, the words, even this very moment, all of it is happening within a field that is not virtual. So maybe the simulation is real, maybe it isn't. But either way, it's appearing inside something that simulation theory itself cannot explain. Awareness does not depend on models. It doesn't rely on proof. It doesn't require belief. It simply exists. Once you truly notice this, really notice it, everything else begins to change. Because long before we had the tools to question the universe, long before any concept of simulation existed, there was already something here, quietly knowing. There is a difference between understanding awareness and simply noticing it. Concepts reside in the mind, but awareness is not in the mind. It is what the mind appears within. Close your eyes for a moment. A thought arises, then another. Where do they come from? They appear, they vanish, but something doesn't come or go. Something is simply here, aware of all of it. This isn't a belief to adopt, nor a theory to argue. It is a quiet noticing, something so ordinary that it's usually missed. Consciousness isn't an idea. It's not a model. It doesn't depend on language. It doesn't care whether you call it awareness, presence, or nothing at all. It is the stillness behind thinking, the space in which every emotion plays out. It's the backdrop that never moves, even when everything else does. And this is where simulation theory and even idealism eventually fall short. They point towards something vast, yet continue circling it from the outside. No theory can take you into it. Only direct experience can. Watch your thoughts as they pass. Notice how they try to explain, define, and grasp. Then shift your attention away from the thoughts themselves and toward what is noticing them. That shift, subtle, almost invisible, is the threshold. You don't arrive at it, you uncover it. Mystics from every tradition have pointed here, not to a distant god or structure in the stars, but to the formless clarity behind the eyes. Buddhism calls it the pure mind. Advaita calls it the self. The desert mystics called it the still small voice. In the language of neuroscience, it's the observer effect, the brain's prediction loop, the part that no scan can quite explain. Some researchers have even noticed a paradox. Under deep meditation or psychedelics, brain activity reduces, but the felt sense of consciousness expands. Less content, more clarity, not disappearance, but presence. You're not being asked to believe this. You are being invited to notice it. Not later, not after more explanation, but now. Even this sentence is being read within awareness. Even doubt appears within it. It has no opinion, no preference. It doesn't need to be understood to be real. And once you glimpse that, everything starts to reorganize. The question shifts from, is this a simulation? To something more intimate, something unspoken, something that doesn't seek answers because it already rests in the one thing that doesn't change. This is the place that theories are trying to describe. And it isn't a theory. It is presence itself. The theory of simulation captured something real, the deep human search for structure, meaning, and a place in the mysterious unfolding of existence. It gave us a metaphor that felt modern, familiar, almost mechanical in its elegance. But it left something essential out. Not because the model was flawed, but because it was built on the assumption that consciousness is secondary, an accident of complexity, a byproduct of information. And yet, through every layer of inquiry, one thing remained untouched, a presence that observes it all. Noticing this doesn't require belief. It doesn't rely on conclusions. It asks for something much simpler. Right now, trace a single thought back to where it came from. Notice the instant before the thought appeared. There's no shape to that place. No color, no edge. But it's not blank. It's not empty. It's aware. That's what the simulation theory couldn't reach, not because it was too shallow, but because it was looking outward when the answer had always been inward. You don't need to decode reality. You're already within the one thing that doesn't require decoding. Stay with that for a breath, maybe two. And if something quiet opens within you, just let it. No need to explain it. There's more to explore here and beyond the screen. If this spoke to something deep inside you, you're not alone. This space exists to nurture that. To continue unfolding this inquiry together, you're welcome to subscribe. Not as a follower, but as a fellow explorer of whatever this is. And maybe, in the stillness between the theories, you'll begin to sense what's always been present. Not constructed, not simulated, just a